I would grab your face.
No. There's a line twisting.
And I would look at you and I would be like, choose you, bitch. And then walk away. What? Now I'm scared.
Do your best impression of me. We both have to do it.
Oh, God. It depends on if you're in a drive-thru or... What do you mean you didn't hear me?
Do a nice one.
That was the first thing that popped up in my head.
Wow.
Because it's funny because you're so nice until you're hungry. And it's like, yo, I said this clearly. Like, it's so fucking...
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I'm like laughing at you, and then you're mad that I'm laughing at you, and it's like, you're like just trying to get your food. And they're like, I'm sorry I didn't hear you. And then they feel bad, and then you give it's so funny. I don't know that was an
No, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Because that's real. That's absolutely real.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to do one of you now.
Oh, God.
Hi, guys. I feel like when you get really excited, or then like when you're hungry, you're like...
I do that.
Oh, it's really fun. I like when you do that one.
Okay. I feel like that actually describes our personalities.
Yeah, for real.
But like what you said depicts like how I am externally until like what we said in the car about, how did we say it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that.
You're so deep.
How do you feel our shared experiences of the past affect our relationship today? I feel like that's all we talk about. That's all we argue about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we're finally hitting a point where we're not going through the same thing sometimes. You know? Because I think even though you experienced more of our childhood into your adulthood, there were still some similarities of like, just like me being there, or like us knowing about it, or me having a sense of empathy, you know? So I think in a lot of ways we understand each other very deeply because of the situations we've been through. I think Dylan dying is one of the big things that I've experienced that you haven't.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part know how to lift each other up and handle like helping each other during situations, because we're like, okay, this is similar to 97, April of 97. We know what to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I think now it's very interesting almost being in uncharted waters of like, how do I say what I need? How do you support that in those moments? So I think in some ways we almost kind of take it for granted how well we know each other.
I would agree.
Yeah, because we're able to be like that time I was driving and we were on the phone and you're like, you're thinking sad thoughts, stop. And I was like, fuck you, bitch.
How did I know?
I was like, what? What are you doing?
I don't know why. I like looked at you and I'm like...
No, you were on the phone.
I was on the phone?
Yeah, we weren't next to each other. I was driving.
Oh, I'm thinking of two moments, because remember that happened after we went to Issa Rae's cafe too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about that. So okay, apparently I have a habit of doing that.
You do.
Cool.
We both do.
Yeah.
But I think the one on the phone was like the most jarring.
I think in some ways, if we could remember when we're mad at each other, that we could get out of arguments faster.
I don't know what you're talking about. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. When have you seen me the most vulnerable, and what did it teach you about loving me?
I think when we talked most recently, like not the conversation before we almost had like an argument, but the one after, and you were expressing the gravity of things. I was like, fuck. I don't have the skill set to help in the way that she deserves.
Yeah.
Now. And that's hard because I feel like, because I know you probably better than anyone except for mom, I'm the one that should know how to.
That's not your responsibility.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
With that being said, I feel like moments like what you've expressed is happening in your life right now, like, of course, is like character building and stuff like that. And it's like nice to have people like around you. It's hard to know in the moment, like, is this something that I just need to figure out on my own? Or do I really need someone to like help me through this moment? And so I was just praying that if it was both, that you needed someone and it was something that you just have to go through on your own, that whoever was needed would be present immediately when it was needed. I was praying that, and then also that if this was something that you had to deal with on your own, that it wouldn't make you feel alone as a result. And it would make you feel more so like, I'm stronger than I thought. And I love the person I am now as a result to it in comparison to how I felt beforehand. And I think sometimes you forget how strong you are, but I also know that you are tired of being strong.
Yeah, it's not that I forget.
Okay.
I know, and I resent it.
Okay.
I think that's more what it is. I resent how strong I've had to be. And this, since last June, like 2024, this year has been...
Yeah.
I almost want to say the worst year of my life.
Yeah.
And that says a lot.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people I feel like Boromir at the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how many more arrows I can take, but I'll keep swinging, you know? And yeah, if I have to do it alone, I'm okay with doing it alone, but I don't think this is something I can do alone.
You don't think it's something you can?
Yeah.
I don't expect you to.
No, yeah.
So,
but I also know
God.
like it's an external force that I don't know that I've encountered yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the hard part of like knowing I need to prepare to reach out for help to what might be unfamiliar.
And I think that the way in which you are allowing me to be present, as well as like our family to be present, is new.
Yes.
And I think is needed.
Yeah.
I hate the way in which it was brought out. I absolutely hate it. If I could take this last year from you, I would. 100%.
I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah. I'd go through it.
Really? Why? And I feel like it's really easy to generically say like that, but I know you mean it.
No, I mean it.
Yeah.
I'd keep this year.
Okay.
I think there would be some tweaks.
I hope so.
I have notes. But no, I'd keep it. I keep encountering my biggest fears and surviving them.
God.
You know?
Yeah.
At least 3 of them.
Okay.
You know? And they're scary. Mm-hmm. And they're worse than I thought they'd be. But I made it.
Yeah, you did. I just really don't want you to go through it alone because you feel like you have to, even if like me supporting you is just being on the phone.
Yeah.
And I think I normally know what to say, and I don't have much to say this time.
I think this is one of those ones where you just sit there.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know?
What's one experience you wish I never had and why?
When I was in Texas and mom and dad separated. I wish we could trade places for a day.
Trust me, you don't want that day.
I know.
Worst day of my life because of how it happened.
Yeah. That's like one of the days you guys still don't talk about. And that's one of those experiences that you had that I haven't, that I feel guilty for not being there for.
It's not that I don't think you could handle that day. It's not that at all. That day was a day I was meant to go through.
I believe you.
And I think for most of my life, like, and this is something we talk about a lot, because I have a more bubbly personality, people often feel the need to protect me. And I've oftentimes been protected without being asked, in which way would you like to be protected? In which way do you need to be protected? Because oftentimes the protection that I'm given is like chosen for me and can hurt me significantly more.
Yeah.
And that moment is just a visual culmination of like me asking God, like praying that I will be given the grace that I need and deserve for how and why I respond to things the way that I do. Because so much of my life has been like people just assuming, or just me not getting the grace that I need, like I desperately need in that moment. And just like, and there were times like, especially in the past like 5 or 6 years, where I realized like how I was responding was like asking for grace, just understanding, like just be present while I try to figure out how to express like what I'm dealing with, why I'm responding to things the way that I am. And just not getting the grace that I need, the presence that I need, and realizing like, that's okay. One day I'll receive it. For now, allow myself to be understood by me instead, and let that be enough. And also not become jaded so that when it does come to me, I can receive it. But that moment completely changed everything about me. And I would not wish that on you. I think you weren't there for a reason.
I do too. I just hate that I wasn't. It's just hard for me. But I think you're right. Titties with titties.
Titties with titties.
What is your greatest hope for us? Vacations by the pool.
Oh, period.
Yeah.
That when we're mad at each other, it's not so heavy. It doesn't feel so heavy.
I think when you're in a better spot, it won't feel heavy.
And I think that's why I get so mad, because it's like, we can talk through this, and then you need like a month. And it's like, oh, God.
Okay.
Like,
well.
And I know.
I was like,
I know.
Do not.
I know. Let me call myself out. Okay. I understand that I want to talk about things immediately right now. Let's get this over with, because I just don't want to drag it on. But with that being said, sometimes you need a moment to just think.
And there was only one time I needed that.
I know, but it was horrible.
I know. But like also, never mind.
How about in the car?
Okay,
cool. If this were to be, oh God, what? If this were to be our last conversation ever, what would you never want me to forget? Oh, God.
I hate that.
Me too.
Okay, since it sounds like you don't know this, I don't resent you. I didn't resent you. And that I love you. And I'm proud of you. And I'm glad we're sisters. And I think that I don't like this question.
I know yours.
I know. Yeah. And then I would ask you to sing Kiss from a Rose every once in a while. You know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer this question too. Because I feel like it's not fair. I would grab your face.
No. There's no intimacy.
And I would look at you and I would be like, choose you, bitch. And then walk away.
Cool, guys, don't look at explosions.
That's the last thing I'd want you to remember. My face looking at you. So that in the moments where you're like, oh, I wonder. Yes, you just like impulsively say yes to things. My face is just ingrained. That's what I want.
Subtle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. What does my love feel like?
It feels like fresh baked cookies. It literally feels like cinnamon rolls and hot chocolate next to the fireplace while reading and listening to Lord of the Rings music in the background.
That's really sweet. I don't know what I expected.
No, it feels like a lazy Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah.
like home?
Sure.
Sorry.
No, it
Everything
does.
you described sounded like home.
No, it does. I was just like, oh, she's being mushy again.
Literally that little mountain picture of me like...
That will never not describe us.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo. We did it.
We did it. Yay.
Well, first off, it felt really natural. We're always like super open with each other, but I think having specific questions to ask like kind of made it a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of solidified for me like allowing myself to have more grace towards myself. I think people are scared, and I think they don't know how to reach out anymore. I think they don't know how to ask questions, and I think this is like a good way to allow themselves a space to be like, no, we're gonna try to tackle things right now, and having something that's structured to help you work to that point. I think it's beautiful. So
amazing. Couldn't have said it better. That's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. You're awesome.
If you love the And conversations or the And products, visit theskindeep.com/shop so you can purchase our products and experiences. Subscribe to any of our social media channels, and we really want to stay in touch and connect, improving the world one conversation at a time.